Welcome back to the Deep Six Wrestling Podcast. It's me, I'm Pat. If you're new here, welcome to the show. This episode is going to be covering Night 10 of the New Japan G1 Climax 32 with commentary by Kevin Kelly and Lance Archer. Before we dive into the show, be sure to check out our latest episode of the podcast right before this one, which is our review of AEW Dynamite from this week, which featured Wheeler Yuta versus Chris Jericho, Britt Baker, and Jamie Hayter versus Tony Storm and Thunder Rosa, and the return of the Undisputed Elite. So plenty of good stuff happening on AEW, so be sure to go check that out. And after this episode, be sure to stick around, subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening to, whether it's YouTube or on any of the streaming services where podcasts can be found, and check out Ryan and Angelo's Impact Wrestling Power Hour, where they will be talking about the latest from Impact Wrestling, as we are coming very, very close to their next Impact Plus show, which is Impact Wrestling Emergence, which is next week on August the 12th. There will also be another weekly SmackDown review, a WWE SmackDown review from Rob, and then we head into the weekend as we have more New Japan coverage with the G1 Climax, as today is August 5th, so there was Night 11. I have not watched it at the time of this recording, but as soon as I finish this, while I'm editing and uploading it to where you're listening to it now, I will be watching Night 11, so I will have a review out for that later this weekend, and we're coming in hot. August is we're at night 11. I think we got 18 nights of this tournament fully, so we're in the final stretch. So keep your eyes peeled to the podcast wherever you're listening, whether it's on the streaming services or on YouTube, and I will continue to be covering the G1 Climax as we round out the tournament and get into the final days. I want to thank everybody who's listened to my reviews of this. It has been a decent amount of work to take notes and review each of these shows, so if you have listened to even just part of the episode, I want to just thank you. To all of our new subscribers, we've gained almost 25 in the past month. Thanks. We appreciate it. You're helping us grow, and we appreciate all of the fans that are listening. Be sure to leave a like on the videos if you're listening on YouTube. Leave a review if you're on the podcast streaming services. If you're on YouTube, also feel free to comment. We will respond to your comments, and we'll talk about them on the shows, so feel free to do that as well. We'd appreciate that. And you can also follow us over on Twitter at Deep Six Wrestling. You'll just search on Twitter, you'll find us, or you can go to the episode description. You can find our social media links there and what have you. I think we have a Facebook still. I don't have Facebook, so I haven't posted, nor do I know the last time that it was posted to. So you can follow us on Facebook, and maybe if you comment on Facebook posts, somebody will post more there. Who knows? But let's just dive on in. I would like to get through this I'm starting this later than planned. So I just want to, be able to get through this review and get on to Night 11 for myself. So as I stated, commentary was done by Kevin Kelly and Lance Archer for the tournament matches. I don't have the results in front of me for the undercard tag matches, but I guess for consistency I can pull those up right now. I knew I was forgetting something. Okay, night would be right here, night 10. Alright, so undercard tag matches, we have Bad Dude Tito and Jonah lost to Aaron Henare and Jeff Cobb of the United Empire. Dick Togo, Sho, Yujiro Takahashi, and Evil defeated Taka Michinoku, Taichi, Zack Sabre Jr., and Lance Archer. Chase Owens, El Phantasmo, and Bad Luck Fale defeated the team of Tetsuya Naito, Shingo Takagi, and Bushi. And then we had Yoshihashi, Hiroshi Tanahashi, and Kazuchika Okada defeating Jay White, Juice Robinson, and Goto. So that is that. And as we head into we'll just head on into Night 10 then. We kick things off with tournament matches with the Great Okan versus Tomohiro Ishii in B block action. Okan locks in an armbar immediately as he has to wrestle a quicker pace here and is just more aggressive, trying to finally get points on the board, as at the time of this match he was 0-2. In the center of the ring, the two go to town, just trading forearms as Okan comes out on top, knocking down Ishii before looking for the Mongolian chop, but Ishii escapes. Okan nails a hip toss, but Ishii comes back with a suplex that Okan just kind of tanks and gets up. A judo throw from the Great Okan lands, as well as a shotgun drop kick and a clothesline, and both men go down. We have a corner clothesline landing from Great Okan before the Sheep Killer gets locked in. Ishii gets out and drops Okan with a German suplex and a lariat to take him down. We have headbutts landing from both men, as does the backbreaker and the Sheep Killer combination from Great Okan. A headbutt from Ishii, the Tenzan Tombstone driver gets looked for and does land, and Okan follows it up by hitting the Eliminator, and the Great Okan wins. So coming out of this, Great Okan moves to 2 points, and Ishii sits at 2 points. Yeah. I thought this was a solid opening match. It was not Ishii's best of the tournament. I'd say on the lower end of what he's done so far, but Okan finally gets on the board, so if you're a Great Okan fan, that's nice. I guess I was hoping for a little bit more out of this, but I did enjoy the energy that they put into this one. Also, as the Great Okan was making his entrance, it was nice hearing Kevin Kelly, I guess, educate Lance Archer on the Great Okan's actions outside of the ring of, like, actually being, like, a genuinely good guy and saving that girl. So that was pretty good, because he thought, Lance thought, I guess Lance just doesn't know about the Great Okan, and so when Kevin, mentioned it, he was like, he thought he was joking at first, and then he explained it, he was like, oh, that's really good. So, very, nice, wholesome moment. I will say, I am enjoying having that they're putting wrestlers on English commentary with Kevin instead of just having him out there by himself for the tournament matches. It's I love Kevin Kelly as a commentator, but it's hard to do as somebody who does solo podcasts. It's hard to just do stuff like this by yourself. So I cannot imagine having to sit there for 3 hours to commentate by yourself. So I'm glad that when they don't have Chris, they're now giving him English English speaking wrestlers. We've had El Phantasmo, Tom Lawlor, Lance Archer. So I do like this. And it's we're in personality from everybody. I still think El Phantasmo is my favorite of the group that we've gotten with Kevin Kelly so far. But I think Lance and Tom Lawlor also did really well. So, just wanted to take note of that. And speaking of Tom Lawlor, he would be up next taking on Toru Yano in the A block. Prior to this match, prior to the G1, when Tom Lawlor was interviewed by Post Wrestling, he did say that this was his dream match for the tournament, and so he got it. To start the match, Tom Lawlor goes to Royce Isaacs, and he pulls out Sister Act 1 and 2, and states that Sister Act was number 1 at the box office for 3 weeks as he tries to trade Yano for the New Japan Glamping DVD, and Yano gives it to him, but it's an empty case. Yano grabs the hair of Tom Lawlor, and it's a wig. Lawlor goes for a roll-up, but Yano gets out as the two men take to the mat for some grappling. Yano teases pulling his pants off, and he does, and he reveals that he has the exact same pair of tights underneath as Lawlor comes in and nails Yano from behind and just drills him with knees to the face. An armbar gets looked for, but Yano gets to the ropes. Royce and Tom get on the apron while Yano's on the floor, and both men take another layer of clothes off, with this being Tom's third pair of trunks that he has worn in this match. Yano gets the patented tape, and he locks Royce Isaac against the railing, taping his arm in. Back in the ring, Yano exposes a turnbuckle, but eventually gets sent back first into it for a 2 count. Lawlor then gets sent into the exposed turnbuckle for a roll-up, but Tom gets out at 2. We have a fireman's carry roll from Yano that gets a near fall as he gets the low blow and a backslide, but Lawlor gets out. Yano repeatedly punches Tom Lawlor in the dick, but Tom just tanks it as he nails a knee to the face, and the nasty knee to the back of the head lands. Tom Lawlor wins and gets on the board finally, as he moves to 2 points and Yano sits at 2. And after the match, Tom Lawlor revealed that he did have a cup. So I was sold as soon as we got the random Sister Act nonsense before the match. This felt like a very random deep cut, but I appreciated it. It was just, this was the right type of comedy. It's been a struggle for comedy matches to land when you have a crowd that can't react, but I think Yano and Lawlor did really well here. I enjoyed this. Compared this to any of the other comedy matches we've got from Yano this tournament, I think this was the best by far. And it showed that Tom Lawlor, as great as he is as a serious wrestler, he can also do comedy very well. So I enjoyed this. I will say that. But this is not like one of the top matches of the tournament by any means. But if you just want to laugh, I mean, Tom Lawlor trying to peddle the Sister Act movies 1 and 2, pretty good stuff. SANADA versus Tama Tonga here. Tama Tonga out-wrestles SANADA to start the match as SANADA gets sent to the floor. When he gets back in, we have a roll-up attempt from Tama, but SANADA gets the Paradise Lock put in, and I want to say, I think this is the first time he's done it the entire tournament. I don't recall the Paradise Lock getting put in any of the other tournament matches for SANADA. He might have been doing it in the undercard matches, but I don't recall him busting this out during any of his tournament matches in the G1 this year. So, for what that's worth. And then, obviously, he drop kicks Tama Tonga in the behind. And we had a very random aside from Lance Archer on commentary about the first time he met Milano Collection. And states that it was in 2002 during an All Japan tour in Texas where he ran into him at SeaWorld. So this was just because they were talking about the Paradise Lock and the history of it. And Lance Archer just went on to explain to Kevin Kelly about the first time he met Milano at SeaWorld in Texas. So if you're looking for the lore, Lance Archer's got you covered. We have a snap suplex that lands from SANADA in the corner as Tama Tonga eventually lands a drop kick. A plancha from SANADA lands on the floor as well, and he sends Tama Tonga back into the ring and gets a 2 count off of it. The moonsault gets looked for from SANADA, but Tama Tonga catches him in the Tongan twist, and it lands. SANADA breaks the offense, Tama Tonga breaks the offensive run from SANADA here. The Death Valley Bomb from Tama Tonga lands as he goes up top and lands the Supreme Flow from across the ring. This was probably the best this move has ever looked, and just an impressive showing from Tama Tonga to be able to get the distance there. SANADA and Tama go counter for counter here. A gun stun gets looked for and escaped. The springboard dropkick lands from SANADA, followed up with a TKO for a 2 count. The moonsault gets attempted again, but the knees get up from Tama Tonga. A gun stun gets attempted, but SANADA catches him in midair with the skull end for what has to be the best skull end I have ever seen, and best counter into the skull end I've ever seen. Tama Tonga fights and manages to get to the rope break, and as they get back to their feet, we get forearm exchanges. Tama gets the poison DDT for a 2 count, which I really like that move. The gun stun gets attempted again, but it fails. The Tongan twist, but SANADA gets out. O'Connor roll. Tama kicks out a 2.9. Gun stun, and Tama Tonga wins. Tama Tonga moves to 4 points, and SANADA sits at 4. I thought this was really, really good stuff. Just superb athleticism on display from both guys. Some really good near falls that I was biting on, and I thought both Tama Tonga and SANADA had some amazing counters for each other's moves. I normally hate the skull end as a submission, but I thought the counter into the gun stun was so smooth and just was executed perfectly. And the finish of the O'Connor roll near fall into the gun stun was great. So I loved this. I thought these two had a great match. Tama Tonga is having a really good tournament, I think. Following his match with Ishii and then going into this, very strong stuff for him. And SANADA as well is having a pretty good tournament, and that's coming from somebody who's normally not the highest on SANADA. I thought this and his match with Taichi were both fantastic. Hirooki Goto versus KENTA. KENTA gets sent to the outside early on and seemingly gets hypnotized by Hirooki Goto's staff as he looks to grab it, but Goto comes out and slams him on the timekeeper's table. While the ref is turned around, Goto gets nailed with the ring bell from KENTA, followed up with a DDT on the floor, as KENTA then nails a kick to the back of Goto and tries to lead the crowd in a clap before using the drop toe hold to bring Goto down as he locks in a headlock. KENTA baits Goto to the apron, and as KENTA tries to suplex him over the ropes and down onto the floor, Goto lifts him back into the ring as the two counter each other here. KENTA eventually lands a power slam on Goto. Up top, KENTA comes off with a diving lariat for a 2 count and then locks in the STF as Goto looks to fight to the ropes and eventually gets his hand on the bottom rope to force the rope break. We go back to the apron and Goto catches a knee to the face before the green killer, which is the rope hung DDT, lands from KENTA. A running boot in the corner before the hesitation drop kick from KENTA. The double stomp misses, but another boot lands, as does a lariat. Goto comes back with a reverse GTR and a clothesline as both men go down. A strike exchange breaks out as Goto cuts it off with a headbutt to drop KENTA before taking him down with the big body kick and an Ushigoroshi for a 2 count. Then we get the staff of Goto gets brought in by KENTA after a ref bump, and KENTA grabs the ref to show that Goto has a weapon, as Goto has taken the staff. A low blow from KENTA lands, and KENTA then sends Goto into red shoes with another ref bump, and we get the staff used here by KENTA just nailing Goto in the face, and like twice, I think it was twice. And then he sends red shoes back into the ring. KENTA goes up top. The double stomp lands, but Goto kicks out. The GTS gets called for, but Goto catches the knee as KENTA then unloads with palm strikes to the face. KENTA lands the Busaiku knee, and Goto kicks out of that. He goes for the GTS, and something got messy here where they like botched it and then immediately went for it again, and KENTA wins after the GTS lands for the second attempt here. I thought for the most part this was pretty solid stuff. It was definitely a slower match, and it took some time to get going. The stuff with the staff was a bit much, as was KENTA just throwing Goto into the ref after low blowing Goto directly in front of red shoes and not getting DQ'd. But it's New Japan, and ref's discretion just is non-existent at this point. Aside from the botched GTS in the ending, I thought this was hard-hitting and well-wrestled by both guys, but definitely not their best work. Neither man's best match of the tournament. KENTA's match with Zack was phenomenal, and Goto's had some bangers. So, yeah, but it was good enough. Again, just a wonky finish. And that would lead us into the main event for night 10 here, which was David Finlay versus Will Ospreay. And right off the bat, these two just go to war with a massive slugfest in the center of the ring before both go over the top rope and down to the floor. Ospreay gets put against the barricade as he as David Finlay throat chops him, and then slams Ospreay's arm over the metal barricade. Back in the ring, a snap suplex lands from Finlay, and Ospreay kicks out at 1. We have the sliding uppercut from Finlay, followed up with a standing uppercut before getting sent into the corner. David gets sent off the top turnbuckle against the apron and down onto the floor, taking just a brutal fall here. This did not look fun to take. And then gets sent into the barricade by Ospreay. A slingshot plancha from Ospreay lands on the floor. The Chelsea Grin gets countered with an Uranage backbreaker from Finlay. Finlay gets sent face first off the top turnbuckle, but he gets back up and takes down Will with a huge superplex for a near fall. An Os cutter on the apron gets a gasp from the crowd as both men go down on the outside of the ring. Once they're back inside, the Os cutter gets attempted once again, but Finlay escapes before getting dropped by the Os cutter successfully for a 2 count. Another Os cutter gets attempted, but Finlay catches him midair with a stunner for a 2 count. This looked fantastic. The acid drop from Finlay gets landed, but Ospreay kicks out. A hook kick from Ospreay, clothesline from Finlay, flying knee from Ospreay. The hidden blade gets attempted, but Finlay rolls him up and then lands the trash panda. David Finlay wins. David Finlay moves to 6 points, and Will Ospreay sits at 4 as David Finlay takes the lead in D block. It's official. David Finlay is one of the MVPs of this year's G1. I have always found David Finlay to be like somewhere in the middle or sometimes kind of boring. This guy was put in the G1 this year. It's his first G1, and he knew what he was doing. He came out and is just lighting the place up with some of the best performances in the tournament. He's having a great run points-wise as well. I don't think anybody would have predicted that on night 10, David Finlay would be leading his block, which also has Shingo Takagi, Will Ospreay, and Juice Robinson. But here he is. So, yeah, I think Finlay is definitely one of the MVPs this year. I think, he's got, like, on top of this match, he had some really great matches with Juice and Shingo. So, yeah. While I don't think he's going to win his block, I feel like he's turning into a genuine star in front of everyone's eyes this tournament, so that's awesome to see. And for anyone who says this tournament's too predictable, again, David Finlay leading D block, I think, is the argument against that. But anyways, I think this is an awesome main event here with Finlay and Ospreay. So if you're looking for 2 matches from this show that you want to go watch, I would recommend David Finlay versus Will Ospreay And I would probably say Tama Tonga and SANADA. I would say those are the two like must-watch matches in terms of quality from night 10. I just think that across the board, those two matches were just really, really good and really just showcased both guys, or not both guys, but all four guys, what they're capable of. And we're just very strong wrestling matches. I think, again, Tama Tonga is another one of the kind of like underlooked guys that I don't think many people going into this G1 were like, oh, Tama Tonga is going to be one of the stars of the G1. But again, he's having some really good matches. And like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of SANADA, but he's been doing really good too. Ospreay's great. David Finlay's doing great. Shingo is Shingo, so you know he's going to do good. Yoshihashi's been on fire. Hirooki Goto is somebody who I think is having a really strong G1 performance-wise. A Block is still my least favorite block this year. It's not really for me. Zack and Tanahashi have both been doing really good this tournament. Jay White's been having a really good tournament. Ishii, as always, you can count on him. So, outside of A Block, B, C, and D, I think you're getting some really, really good wrestling from. So I will, I do appreciate that. Before we go into the points, we're going to go over the predictions points. So for our Deep Six, there's six of us who did our predictions. It's Rob, Angelo, Ryan, myself, Joey, and Sam. So coming out of night 10, I had a horrible night. I only got one match correct. Sam and Joey and Ryan got 2, and Angelo and Rob got 3. So our overall points coming out of night 10 have Sam in last place with 19, Joey and myself tied at 22, Ryan at 23, Angelo at 24, and Rob at 25. So since night 8, when I took the lead by myself, I have now free-falled, and I have now had Rob, Angelo, and Ryan pass me, and Joey has tied me. So not too strong for me performance-wise right now. But hopefully, there's enough time. I can hopefully come back here. As for the G1, the actual points coming out of night 10, we will go over that. A Block is still led by Kazuchika Okada at 6 points. Jeff Cobb and Bad Luck Fale in second place at 2, and everybody else has 2 points. I think I messed that up. Jeff Cobb and Bad Luck Fale at 4 points, everybody else at 2 points. B Block, Jay White is still in the lead with 6 points. Tama Tonga and SANADA follow him with 4. Taichi, Chase Owens, the Great Okan, and Tomohiro Ishii have 2. In C Block, we have a 3-way tie for first with Hiroshi Tanahashi, Hirooki Goto, and Zack Sabre Jr. at 4. Tetsuya Naito, Aaron Henare, Kenta, and Evil at 2. And last but not least, in D Block, we have David Finlay in the lead with 6, Will Ospreay in second at 4, Yoshihashi, Shingo Takagi, Juice Robinson, El Phantasmo, and Yujiro Takahashi at 2. And that would send us into night 11 for the G1 Climax, which, again, I have not watched, but I will give the preview for those who are just, trying to stay caught up in the same way I am. So the next night of action will feature D Block, Juice Robinson versus Yujiro Takahashi. Both men are 1 and 2 currently. In B Block action, Taichi versus Chase Owens. Taichi is 1 and 1. Chase Owens is 1 and 2. C Block action with Tetsuya Naito versus Aaron Henare, as both men are 1 and 2. A Block action with Jeff Cobb versus Jonah. Jeff Cobb is 2 and 1. Jonah is 1 and 1. And in the main event, we have Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Evil, as Hiroshi Tanahashi is 2 and 1, and Evil is 1 and 1. So that is going to do it for this episode of the Deep Six Wrestling Podcast. I have been your host, Pat. If you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like if you're on YouTube. Leave a rating if you're listening on Spotify or Apple. Subscribe to wherever you're listening to, or subscribe to us wherever you're listening to. And be sure to come back for our upcoming content. Be sure to check out our past content with the rest of our G1 coverage, with our reviews of AEW, the upcoming Impact Wrestling review, and SmackDown as well. And I'll be here for the rest of the G1 Climax. So if you enjoyed this, be sure to come back. Be sure to, help us continue to grow this channel as we look to expand our coverage of wrestling. And yeah, so Thank you for joining me, and enjoy the rest of your day or night or whenever you're listening to this. Enjoy it. So, thank you, and I'll talk to you in the next episode.